Dust settles over a cracked tomb. A lone archaeologist brushes away centuries of sand, revealing a glint of gold. This is the thrill of discovery, the moment where the past bursts through the veil of time. Each unearthed relic whispers a forgotten story, a testament to civilizations that once thrived. Imagine a forgotten city unearthed from beneath the jungle canopy, or a pharaoh's undisturbed tomb bursting with treasures. These are just a few of the incredible archaeological finds that have rewritten history and ignited our imaginations. From China's greatest treasure and Mound of the Dead to stones built by giants, each find on our list promises to leave you flabbergasted. So buckle up and get ready to see top 10 most amazing archaeological discoveries of all time, because the number 1 spot on our countdown promises to give you chills. Number 10. Curse of the Pharaoh is real? Tutankhamun's tomb is fascinating to a wide audience, including professionals, academics, and members of the general public, because it demonstrates how magnificent and enigmatic ancient Egypt was. This amazing historical find happened on November 4, 1922, when British researcher Howard Carter, with money from Lord Carnarvon, found the opening to the tomb in the Valley of the Kings on the west bank of the Nile, close to Luxor, Egypt. When Carter and his team opened the tomb, they saw something that had never been seen before in modern archaeology: a room full of wealth, objects, and the whole coffin of Tutankhamun, the young king who ruled during the 18th dynasty from about 1332 to 1323 BC. The antechamber, the annex, the burial chamber, and the treasury are the 4 main rooms that make up the tomb. The entrance was in the antechamber, which held many objects, such as chariots, thrones, and other things that Tutankhamun was meant to use in the afterlife. The annex had a lot of storage containers and other everyday things. The treasury, on the other hand, held the most valuable and precious things like gold and funeral masks. But it was the burial chamber where the most important find was made: a stone tomb with 3 coffins stacked inside it, with a solid gold coffin in the middle. Inside this last box were Tutankhamun's preserved remains. He was wearing a golden death mask that has become one of the most famous symbols of ancient Egypt. The high level of artistry and large number of items discovered in Tutankhamun's tomb reveal a lot about how Egyptians buried their dead, their religious views, and their material culture during that time. The belief in the curse of King Tutankhamun's tomb arose from a series of mysterious deaths and unfortunate events that occurred after the discovery of the tomb in 1922 by archaeologist Howard Carter. Lord Carnarvon, the financial backer of the expedition, died shortly after the tomb was opened, sparking rumors of a curse. However, many of the deaths attributed to the curse were exaggerated or coincidental. Number 9. Ancient stone speaks 3 languages. Known for being a key piece in understanding old Egyptian hieroglyphs, the Rosetta Stone is one of the most important historical finds in history. This old item is a slab of granodiorite stone that is about 9.5 feet tall, 6 feet wide, and just over 2 feet thick. During Napoleon Bonaparte's military operation in Egypt in 1799, French forces discovered the Rosetta Stone. The inclusion of ancient Greek and Egyptian writings makes it a crucial artifact for the study of these ancient languages. The stone is important because it was used as a language key to decipher Egyptian hieroglyphs. Before it was found, modern researchers couldn't figure out what the hieroglyphs meant. On the Rosetta Stone, the same text was written in 3 different scripts. This gave experts a way to compare and translate the Egyptian language. The side of the stone that contained writing in Greek was the most important hint, because Greek was a known language. By comparing the Greek text to both the hieroglyphs and the Demotic script, a form of ancient Egyptian cursive writing showing up about 3,000 years after hieroglyphic writing developed, scholars were able to figure out the sound values of many of the hieroglyphic signs. What you see on the Rosetta Stone is an order that King Ptolemy V Epiphanes made in 196 BC to mark his accession to the throne. It talks about the king's good qualities and the many good things he did for the Egyptian priests and churches. The order also lists ways to lower taxes and describes how it will be widely distributed in Egypt. This book, which was once impossible to read, now gives us a look into how ancient Egypt ran its government and politics, and is considered a piece of propaganda for King Ptolemy. After it was found, the Rosetta Stone was given to the British when Napoleon's forces were defeated in Egypt. From then on, it was kept at the British Museum in London, where it is still one of the most important items there. The stone is important for more than just its language value. It represents the coming together of countries and the search for information. Its decipherment was a big step forward in our understanding of ancient Egyptian culture, and it still inspires both experts and regular people. Number 8. Ancient China's greatest treasure. When you look at how great and advanced ancient China was, the terracotta army is one of the most amazing historical finds of the 20th century. In 1974, local farmers stumbled upon an incredible collection of life-size clay soldiers, horses, chariots, and other artifacts while excavating a well. This place is in the province of Shaanxi, close to the city of Xi'an. The findings sparked a worldwide interest in China's old culture and gave us important information about its military, artistic, and cultural successes. The terracotta army was built more than 2,000 years ago during the rule of Qin Shi Huang, who was China's first emperor. It was meant to be a huge tomb complex that would protect the emperor in the afterlife. When Qin Shi Huang united China and started the Qin dynasty in 221 BC, he didn't skimp on building his tomb, which was meant to be huge. The terracotta army was only one part of this complex cemetery. There were also castles, government buildings, and other structures there. The army is made up of thousands of carefully created clay models arranged as if in battle in order to show how strong the Qin dynasty's military was. The fact that each man has a different face, hairstyle, and clothes shows how diverse and complicated ancient Chinese society was. It's amazing how much care and skill went into making these figures. They show how advanced the methods were that Qin artists used. The terracotta army is split up into several pits. Pit 1 is the biggest and the most thoroughly excavated. There are thousands of army troops lined up in exact rows in this pit, along with wagons and horses. The sheer size of the assembly is mind-boggling, indicating the huge amount of money and work that went into making it. Generals, archers, cavalrymen, and other specialty groups have also been found during excavations. Each played a different part in the emperor's imagined future. The terracotta army is important for military reasons, but it is also a great way to learn about old Chinese beliefs, customs, and art traditions. The careful attention to detail in the troops' clothes, guns, and other items shows us something about the material culture of the time. The way the figures are arranged shows how Qin society was structured, with different levels of power. Scholars are still looking into the spot to try to figure out what it all means and learn more about old China. The terracotta army has become one of China's most famous cultural images since it was found. Millions of people come from all over the world to see it. The place has been carefully preserved and is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site, which means that future generations will be able to protect it. Number 7. Hidden Bible found in caves. The Dead Sea Scrolls are a group of old religious writings that were found in the Qumran caves in the West Bank, near the Dead Sea between 1947 and 1956. These writings are very important to students, historians, and philosophers because they show how religion and culture worked in ancient Israel and how Judaism and Christianity got their start. It is one of the most important historical finds of the 20th century that the Dead Sea Scrolls were found. There are many kinds of writings on the scrolls, such as Bible papers, group writings, community rule records, songs, prayers, law texts, and many other types of writings. Most importantly, the scrolls have pieces of every book of the Hebrew Bible except for Esther. These Bible texts are about 1,000 years older than the oldest known copies. They tell us a lot about the history of the Hebrew Bible's texts and how they were passed down. Most of the Dead Sea Scrolls are written on paper, but some are also written on papyrus and copper. The texts were written in Hebrew, Aramaic, and Greek, showing how different the languages were in the area during the time of the Second Temple. Different tablets have different levels of writing and preservation. Some are well preserved, while others are highly damaged or broken up. The Dead Sea Scrolls are important for more than just what they say. They give important historical background for understanding how Judaism and early Christianity grew and changed. The scrolls show the variety of Jewish beliefs and practices during the time of the Second Temple. They show the beliefs and practices of the Essenes, a Jewish group that some experts think lived in Qumran society. When the Dead Sea Scrolls were found, they caused a lot of scholarly discussion and dispute. Scholars have spent decades decoding, interpreting, and studying the writings, which has led to a lot of papers and opinions. The Dead Sea Scrolls have helped us learn more about old Jewish history, how to understand the Bible, and how Christianity got its start. There are many places that hold the Dead Sea Scrolls, such as the Israel Museum in Jerusalem and the Jordan Museum in Amman. There are, however, limits on who can see the papers. Only a select few students are allowed to study them directly. Still, work has been done in recent years to scan the scrolls and make them easier for the public to access. This will let more people interact with these old gems. Number 6. Built without mortar, ancient city baffles engineers. Machu Picchu is an amazing example of how creative and skilled the Incas were at building. It is located in the rough Andes Mountains of Peru. This UNESCO World Heritage Site, which is sometimes called the Lost City of the Incas, is a mysterious wonder that keeps drawing tourists from all over the world. At an elevation of about 1.5 miles above sea level, Machu Picchu is in a great spot that gives it a view of the beautiful Urubamba River Valley. This ancient site has a mysterious and grand feel to it because it is far away and in the middle of green, misty mountains. The archaeological site is made up of a huge network of carefully built stone buildings, such as churches, castles, gardens, and living areas, that all fit into the natural shape of the mountainside. The accuracy with which these buildings were put together, huge blocks of perfectly cut stone were put together without using mortar, shows how advanced the Incas' engineering skills were. The famous Intihuatana stone, which serves as a marker for Machu Picchu's symbolic heart and is believed to have served as a ritual object or a stargazing telescope, is the most significant component of the site's design. Along with other formal buildings like the Temple of the Sun and the Temple of the Three Windows, this holy stone shows how important the place was to the Inca people on a spiritual level. The terraced fields that run down the sides of Machu Picchu are another amazing feature of its design. They show how good the Incas were at farming in difficult, hilly terrain. These slopes not only helped the people grow food, but they also kept the earth stable, which stopped erosion and floods. Even though Machu Picchu is very important, no one knows for sure what it was used for. Theories range from it being a royal estate for Inca masters to a holy refuge, or even an observatory for the stars. Its loss and later finding by the American adventurer Hiram Bingham in 1911 make it even more interesting and lead to endless debate and fascination. Machu Picchu is now one of the most famous and sought-after tourist spots in the world. People come to experience its mysterious atmosphere and be amazed by the beauty of its architecture. It takes a difficult hike along the famous Inca Trail or a beautiful train ride through the sacred valley to get to the spot, but seeing this ancient marvel in person is well worth the trouble. Number 5. Aliens or Ancient Genius? The Great Pyramids of Giza are a lasting reminder of how creative, ambitious, and good at building things the Egyptians were in the past. These amazing buildings have been inspiring people all over the world for thousands of years. They are located on the Giza Plateau, just outside of Cairo. They are still one of the most famous and well-known sites in the world, even though they were built during the Old Kingdom era of Egyptian history. It is the biggest and most well-known of the three pyramids. It is also called the Pyramid of Cheops. It was built over about 20 years, from about 2580 to 2560 BC. It was originally covered in smooth white limestone covering stones, which would have given it a beautiful look that would have sparkled in the sun. A lot of the upper shell has been worn away or removed since then, but the sheer size and accuracy of its building are still amazing. The two smaller pyramids were built next to the Great Pyramid for Khufu's successors, the pharaohs Khafra and Menkaure. They aren't as big as Khufu's tower, but the way they were planned and built is just as amazing. Khafra's pyramid is interesting because it still has some of its original covering stones at the top. This lets people see how these old structures would have looked. The Great Pyramids are truly unique, and it's not just their size that makes them stand out. The engineers who built them also did amazing things. The ancient Egyptians had a lot of advanced knowledge and were really good at planning their lives. This is shown by how carefully the huge sandstone blocks were cut, moved, and put together. There are many theories about how these huge stones were moved and lifted, ranging from ramps to complicated systems of handles and counterweights. However, experts are still arguing about the exact methods used. The famous Sphinx, temples, mastabas, burial rooms, and other buildings make up the vast necropolis of Giza, which is located around the pyramids. All of these things together make up a complicated and linked environment that was the center of religious ceremonies, royal ceremonies, and keeping the pharaoh's memory alive forever. Number 4. Mound of the Dead. Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa are two of the most important historical sites in the world. They were the most important cities in the Indus Valley Civilization, which is one of the oldest urban societies ever. Between 2600 and 1900 BC, these ancient towns grew and thrived in the rich fields of the Indus River area, which is now Pakistan and northwest India. The study and examination of these sites have taught us a lot about how people lived and organized their lives in old cities. That name, Mound of the Dead, comes from Mohenjo-Daro, which is in Pakistan's Sindh region. Harappa, situated in Pakistan's Punjab province, stands as a pivotal site representing the rich history of the Indus Valley Civilization. Both cities were carefully planned, showing a high level of urban planning and building skill. Mohenjo-Daro in particular has a well-planned layout, with streets set up in a grid, advanced drainage systems, and houses with more than one story made of standard bricks. The people who lived in Mohenjo-Daro and Harappa did many economic things, such as farming, trading, and making things. The towns were important hubs for trade networks that stretched across the area. Artifacts like seals. Seals were historically used to stamp or impress images or symbols onto clay or wax to authenticate documents, containers, or other objects. Pots and jewelry made from materials that came from far away show this. One of the most interesting things about these old towns is that they don't have the clear social classes that you usually see in historical societies. The Indus Valley civilization doesn't seem to have had a ruling class based on the lack of massive building or grand graves. Instead, the society seems to have been pretty equal. The writing used by people in the Indus Valley civilization, sometimes referred to as the Indus script, has not been fully deciphered, making it difficult to comprehensively understand the language and culture of this ancient civilization. However, the finding of many seals with writing on them shows a complex way of communicating and administration. Number 3. Giant drawings in the desert. The Nazca lines, a series of ancient geoglyphs etched into the desert plains of southern Peru, were first brought to widespread attention in the 20th century due to their scale and intricate designs. They were discovered by Peruvian archaeologist Toribio Mejia Exespa in 1927 during a survey of the region. However, it wasn't until the 1930s, when commercial airlines began flying over the area, that the lines gained international recognition. The aerial perspective provided by these flights revealed the full extent and complexity of the geoglyphs. Geoglyphs from long ago were carved into the Nazca Desert in southern Peru. These are called the Nazca lines. These huge lines cover more than 500 square miles and look best when seen from above, where they form a group of complicated and mysterious patterns. By removing the reddish-brown iron oxide-coated rocks that cover the desert floor, the lines show the lighter-colored ground below, making pictures that are sharp and last a long time. The Nazca lines are made up of many different shapes, such as geometric patterns, animals, and humanoid figures. The width of these shapes varies from a few feet to over 30 miles. There are many well-known patterns among the Nazca lines, including the hummingbird, the monkey, the spider, the condor, and a mysterious humanoid figure colloquially referred to as the astronaut, due to its resemblance to a figure wearing a helmet or headgear similar to what astronauts wear. It's amazing how well these geoglyphs were made, given they were made more than 2,000 years ago by the Nazca people, a pre-Columbian culture that thrived in the area from about 100 BC to 800 AD. Scholars have long argued about what the Nazca lines mean and why they were made. One popular idea says that they were used as religious paths or marks for processions that had to do with water and fertility. Due to the dry temperature of the area, managing water was important for farming, and ceremonies may have been performed to ensure plentiful crops. Others think the lines had something to do with astronomy or the calendar, since they were aligned with events in the sky like the solstices or showed how the stars and planets moved. The Nazca lines are very interesting, and the mystery surrounding them has led to many ideas and claims about where they came from and what they were meant to do. Some more hypothetical explanations include alien participation or ideas about ancient astronauts, which say that the lines were made as signs or paths for alien visits. Even though these ideas are interesting, they are not backed up by solid proof, and most standard scientists and historians don't believe them. Even though they are very old, the Nazca lines are mostly still in one piece because the temperature in the area is very dry and stable, which has helped protect these fragile formations. They are not, however, immune to damage, and human activities such as expanding cities, farming, and tourists are major threats to their survival. The Nazca lines are being protected by limiting entry to some places and keeping an eye on them all the time to make sure they don't get damaged. The Nazca lines were named a World Heritage Site by UNESCO in 1994 because of their cultural importance and the need to protect them. Number 2. Massive stones built by giants. The massive standing stones arranged in a circular formation, their origins and purpose have intrigued scholars and visitors for centuries. Stonehenge is a famous historical site in Wiltshire, England. It is on Salisbury Plain and is a testament to the engineering and astronomy skills of the time. This mysterious building, which is made up of big standing stones grouped in a circle, has fascinated and studied many people for many years. Stonehenge is thought to have been built in several stages over many centuries, with the henge, the circle ditch and bank barrier around the monument, being the oldest known work. It dates back to around 3000 BC to the year 2000 BC. The main building is made up of two types of stones. The bigger sarsen stones make up the outer circle and trilithons, two vertical stones holding a horizontal lintel, and the smaller blue stones make up the horseshoe and circle inside. Researchers and scholars have a lot of different ideas about where these stones, especially the smaller blue stones, came from. There are many ideas about what Stonehenge was built for, but no one knows for sure. A common theory says that it was used as a clock or scientific telescope because it was lined with the sun and moon's movements. The monument's positioning ensures that the sun rises directly over the heel stone on the summer solstice, which lends credence to this idea. Some experts also think that Stonehenge had religious or ceremonial meanings. It may have been used as a graveyard or a place of worship. The building at Stonehenge is an amazing example of old engineering and hard work. People with a thorough understanding of planning and construction techniques would have been required to move and set up the enormous stones, some of which weigh several tons. The exact techniques the Neolithic builders used are still a mystery, especially when it comes to how they moved the stones over long distances. Throughout the years, Stonehenge has been fixed up and changed in many ways, representing shifts in religious beliefs, cultural practices, and social norms. Over time, the monument has grown in importance. It is now a symbol of British history and a UNESCO World History Site because of its cultural and historical value. Number 1. From trade hub to tourist hotspot. In the rough landscapes of southern Jordan in the lost city of Petra, you can find one of the most interesting old sites ever found. Petra was the capital of the Nabatean kingdom, which grew from about 312 BC to 106 AD. It was carved into the rose-red rock hills. Because it was on a trade route that connected Arabia, Egypt, and the Mediterranean, it was a bustling center of religion, business, and culture. People first noticed Petra's amazing rock-cut architecture, which includes huge walls called facades or khazana, treasury, that meet people as they walk through the Sikh, a narrow gorge. With its elaborate carvings and large size, the treasury may be the most recognized sign of Petra's grandeur. The ancient city opens up beyond the treasury, showing a maze of tombs, churches, homes, and other buildings cut right into the rocks. Not only is the treasury one of Petra's building wonders, the monastery, the royal tombs, the Great Temple, and the Roman Theater are just a few of the other amazing buildings on the site. Each of these structures shows how the Nabateans mixed Greek, Roman, Egyptian, and their own customs to make their city's scenery special. The sophisticated water management techniques and exquisite architecture of Petra's inhabitants are evidence of their skill in construction. The Nabateans came up with very smart ways to collect and store rainwater, which helped the city grow in the dry desert. Carving channels, cisterns, and dams into the rock made sure that everyone in Petra, including tourists, always had access to water. Petra is important for more than just its ruins. There were also many places of worship in the city, including churches to the Nabatean god Dushara and other gods. The Nabateans believed in many gods and mixed beliefs from Arabian, Mesopotamian, and Hellenistic cultures. The holy building in Petra shows this mixing of beliefs. Even though Petra was very important in ancient times, it became less important over time as the Nabatean kingdom fell apart and other trade lines opened up. By the 7th century AD, most people had left Petra, and only Bedouin tribes in the area knew it existed. The rediscovery of Petra by Swiss explorer Johann Ludwig Burckhardt in the early 19th century captured the Western world's imagination, restoring interest in the ancient city. Petra is now a UNESCO World Heritage Site and one of the most popular tourist spots in Jordan. Its stunning beauty and fascinating history attract people from all over the world. These discoveries are not just relics of the past, they are keys to unlocking our future. They challenge us to rethink our assumptions, expand our horizons, and embrace the mysteries that still lie hidden beneath the earth. These were the top 10 most amazing archaeological discoveries of all time. Did any of them surprise you? Do let us know in the comment section.